They're 27-6, 27-7, which is unbelievable. All of these guys had done what? In their first or second year, won an MVP. Lamar has an MVP. Skip, and I said this earlier in the opening. If he can get his passing to 67, Skip, I'm not talking about 80 because it'd be unfair. With his legs, if he can get 80% better as a passer. But if he can just get 60%, 70% better as a passer, Skip, he's going to be like Mahomes. He'll be in the MVP discussion every single year. Because the difference is Baltimore can't win a game if he doesn't play great. Skip, I'm not talking about play well. No, he has to play well in order for them to win. We've seen Cleveland win a game when Baker has 70, 80 yards passing. The running game is what sets them up. Lamar Jackson, if he doesn't play well, they don't win. They built this entire thing. This fortress is built on Lamar Jackson's foundation. So I'm going to say Lamar because I believe he can continue to get better, and I believe he'll continue to work. He strikes me as a guy that wants to get better at throwing the football. He knows he has dynamic legs. But if he can just get 60% passing to the legs ratio, Skip, he's a special talent. I'm gonna take Lamar because I believe he will improve as a passer, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't get another MVP on his resume before it's all said and done.
He well might. This is probably my pride talking. It might even be my Oklahoma Sooner talking. But I was a Baker fan before the draft. I told you I would pick him first overall, and I'm going to stand by that. And I'm going to say over the long haul, he will have a little better career than another young man I've come to love in Lamar. I did not see Lamar coming in pro football. I thought he could be pretty good. I didn't think he could win an MVP, but I don't know many people who saw Lamar coming because the whole league looked the other way.
Correct. They
all had chances until Ozzie took him at the bottom of the round.
Yep, traded back in the first round to get him.
Yep. So, in the end, in this league, you win throwing the football. Even though Lamar has he's shattered that mold. Baker is a better thrower of the football, and I think he always will be a little to a lot better thrower of the football than Lamar.
I agree.
Lamar astounded me last year with his dart throwing because he was throwing darts the whole year.
Yeah.
And again, when you can run the way he runs, it just opens everything up.
Yes.
It's so hard to defend. He is so explosively quick and fast, both. When you have that combination. He's a little beyond our man Michael Vick.
Skip, you saw that first touchdown run when they lagged it, he went up the middle. He in the end zone, the guy's diving in his leg, he's standing in the end zone.
I mean, it's absurd how fast he is. He's a touch faster than Michael Vick. Michael in the open field, we're talking about the Michael Vick experience in Atlanta. It's something I would have paid to watch every Sunday.
Yeah, well, they got Lamar in Baltimore, Skip.
Yeah, he is just something where he's so explosive. He might not be able to make you miss quite like Vic did.
No.
But his change of direction, as they say, you put that foot in the ground.
Yeah. When
he puts his foot in the ground, it's so subtle and effortless. The shift of direction, it just leaves you tackling air. So I get that. But you got to stay healthy.
Yes.
And I thought he took a shot last night with 6.5 minutes left he did not need to take. I mean, in the third quarter. But, I was afraid that was leading to why he went to the locker room, but apparently that wasn't it. But the point is, if he can stay healthy and you can continue just to gash people for 100+ yards, then all those little play action slant, they're just open everywhere. Yes. It's just like you can't guard them.
Right.
Okay? So he has to hit the slants.
Right.
He has to hit the curls. He has to hit all the underneath stuff. And occasionally he needs to break the pocket and hit Hollywood, who gets behind the secondary.
And Skip, the thing is that's going to be work in his favor. He's going to be throwing against single coverage because you got to get the safety down in the box to deal with that run game.
Agreed.
You got to.
Okay? So what have we seen from Baker? He's gone through head coach after coach, coordinator after coordinator, and finally life has quietly stabilized for him over the last 7 games. And again, very quietly, Pro Football Focus ranks him the 3rd graded quarterback. He's graded 3rd best in the league over the last 7 games. Okay, that'll work.
Yes.
Is it enough body of work to say, wow, he's a top 10? I think he's right there about 10th in the league right now because he's starting to play the way Baker Mayfield played at Oklahoma. He's playing with that hot doggy arrogance, and I don't always love it. I don't love the drum major running after touchdown passes. I don't love sliding into the end zone like I'm too cool, right? Yeah. He's got hot dog in him. He's constantly chattering with the opposition, but he's starting to back it up. And the hot doggy arrogance fuels him like nothing else. That's what he was at Oklahoma. You remember all the stuff he got into it with the Kansas Jayhawks and the pregame handshake because they wouldn't shake his hand.
He hit the guy from Texas, TCU, hit him in the head with the football.
Because they had the audacity to run along the back line of the end zone while Baker and company were warming up on that end of the field. So he just drills the kid right in the head. That's Baker.
Right.
Okay, so you got to accept the whole package, and I always have because that's his rocket fuel. Well, the rocket fuel really worked last night. And you can't tell me that after Lamar scored and fired a football and hit a sign and the dog pound into the stadium and the ball came right back to him, then Baker scored and he did the same thing and tried to get the ball to come back, but it wouldn't come back to him. Right. But that was a touche to you, Lamar, and obviously same draft class. So it's like, can you top this? Well, I can top that.
Skip, they're tied together. Josh Allen, and Baker all in that same draft class, and so this is what you get.
There was a Darnold in there, and there was a Rosen. Okay, all right. So in this case, I still say the ability to throw the football on the move and from the pocket will give Baker a slight edge going forward. And I say now that his life is stabilized without Odell, and again, no knock on Odell, he's great, but he was the worst thing that ever happened to Baker at that point in his life because he was entering his second year and he was only a half-year starter the first year as a rookie. So he's still getting his feet wet, and he's trying to find Odell and force-feed him the football. Along with Jarvis, so he had co-number ones, and there are just too many weapons, and it destroyed him. He got hesitant with the football. He got brain-locked in the pocket, and last year was a disaster for Baker Mayfield.
Odell probably should go to a team with a veteran quarterback and get back, because it's been a while. I mean, you look at the last 2 years, he was injured in New York. His first year in Cleveland, he was injured. This year he's injured. So it's been a while since we've seen the Odell that we know that Odell to be. So he probably needs to move on, find a guy with a veteran quarterback that knows how to get, because he just wants to get back to playing good football. And he's had a rash of injuries, from the sports hernia to the ankle. You know, he broke his ankle a couple of years ago, now the ACL. So he has a lot to prove. Yeah,
he does. So Baker is quietly taking off over the last 7 games, 13 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. All of a sudden, Rashard Higgins has come back into the rotation as really a primary receiver. He's caught the most yards catching over the last 7 games, a little above Jarvis. So now it's up to Baker to continue to live up beyond the progressive commercials. And I'm going to say it one more time. I just haven't loved all the progressive commercials. And now he's making more and more. There are new ones, it seems like, every game. Last night, the most of the game was progressive commercials. Well, it just paints that target bigger and bigger on your back, and he still hasn't proved. He has not won an MVP. He hasn't been a Pro Bowl quarterback. He hasn't played in a playoff game yet. So now you've got way more to prove, but I think he's living up to his commercials.
Well, they did a good job, Skip, because they fell behind. They had 28 attempts for 138 yards. That's almost 5 yards a carry for a rushing touchdown. Because I was like, is anybody going to throw the ball for a touchdown? Because it seemed like everybody for the first 9 touchdowns were all rushing touchdowns. And they had to go back. I saw the caption on the screen is like, you got to go back to 1922. But for Baker to do what they did when he fell behind and basically took the running game with Chubb and Hunt, they ran it just a little bit to sprinkle it in there, but basically it was Baker throwing the football. I thought Baker showed really well for himself. But like I said, all Lamar has to do is improve, get to 65, 70%.
He does.
If he's gonna be the deal with, cut them legs.
Okay, but going forward, now Baker's got a quality young coach who gets it and is putting him in situations to use his legs, to scramble, roll out, buy time. And Kevin Stefanski knows, because he's West Coast, he's off that tree. So now Baker has found his bliss. This is where he belongs. And all of a sudden, I think going forward, they've built it right because most of the year their offensive line has been graded like 1 or 2 in the league. So you got the offensive line.
Yeah, they got Conklin from Tennessee. They Wills from Alabama, the 10th pick in the draft. They're Treader.
Yeah.
So they're good, Skip. For me, any relationship I be in, if you don't love me like Harbaugh loves Lamar, I don't want it.
That's
you
true.
see, he called a timeout because they thought they had him, and Harbaugh called a timeout, and Lamar's like, he comes over to the sideline and he hugs him. He's like, hey, my bad, bro. Hey.
No, I agree.
That's what you want, Skip. That's when you know. See, Wynn's like, hold on. Why can't my coach believe in me and love me like Harbaugh loves Lamar?
No, you're right. That's gold, man.
That's it.
You can't find it.
Every quarterback, every player wants his coach to have that kind of respect and admiration for him like John Harbaugh has for Lamar Jackson.
Right. And remember what happened to Baker right out of the box. They're on Hard Knocks. And at the end of Hard Knocks, Hugh Jackson calls Baker in. Remember this with Drew Stanton?
Yeah.
And announced to Baker, this is on Hard Knocks that they used it. Hey, you have won the backup quarterback job. I've won the backup? I was the first pick in the draft, right?
And you called me here to tell me that?
Yeah.
It was almost like it embarrassed him.
It embarrassed
you could have just said, okay, I'm the number 2 quarterback. But that's something you don't need to make an announcement about.
Nope. And by the way, we did have Hugh on the show after that, and he did acknowledge that was a mistake.
Yes.
That was not right.
Sometimes, Skip, you get caught up in you know, when you do this